Good evening, everybody. My name is Petra Procházková, and I will be your guide through today's discussions evening. The main guest and hero of this evening is Alisa Kovalenko from Ukraine, and you will learn everything about her and from her today. You will also have possibility to pose your own questions to her, but before I introduce her, and I will try to do that through questions, she would like to tell you a few words, and she would also like to show you a video because Alisa is, among other, a director and documentary filmmaker. So, Alisa, floor is yours.
Hello, I'm happy to be here. And first, I would like to explain a little bit what I'm going to show you. You know, at the beginning of this full-scale war, I didn't feel power to be a director. I felt that I have to do something, that I have to act for my country. And at that time, at that crucial moment, when everything started in Ukraine, I didn't feel that I could do it as a filmmaker. So I decided to go to the front line and to fight. And after all this experience, I spent on the front line almost 4 months as a fighter. I filmed sometimes a little bit. I didn't make any intention to make a film out of it, but the more time I stayed there, the more I wanted just to save the memory about this. And after 4 months, my military base was bombed. My friend died, and I decided to take a break and to rethink all this experience of the front line. And I started to go through my footages, and I saw and I understood that there is something unique in it. Maybe I filmed the most boring things at the front line, because actually when there were actions, I had to act. So I filmed the routine life of the front line. And that's what I'm going to show you. It's a kind of mood trailer of the project, which I even didn't supposed to do, but which finally I started to think that it's very important to make this film. So you will be the first people who will watch it publicly. Yeah, this is kind of a 5-minute video from the front line, from positions where we were with my units. So let's watch the video and talk after.
All right, I think that Alisa actually gave the first question to me, which I will ask. Then you will have your opportunity to ask too. You may have understood that Alisa is not only a soldier and documentary filmmaker, but also a mother, as you can see from the very end of the video. When you were on the front line, your husband was at safety with your son. Don't you feel like you exchanged the roles a bit? Isn't warfare a man's thing? Aren't the roles exchanged in your family a bit? Is this natural to some extent, that the woman goes to war and the man takes care of the child?
We have kind of unusual couple generally, and we already went through so much things because we are together since Maidan Revolution. She knew that I'm a bit crazy since that time, so he accepted. But also the thing is that I really think we are all equal in a face of war. So it's more about your decision, as a human being, what you have to do, what you feel you have to do. And that's what we discussed with Stefan, with my husband. And he knew that I gave a promise to myself in 2015 that if something like this will happen, if it will be a full-scale war, if war will spread, then I will take a gun and I will go to protect my country. At that time, when I gave a promise to myself, I didn't know that I will have a son by the time when all of this can start. But I also knew that I will do it for my son, that he will not go to fight in 10 years. So I want him to live in beautiful country, to love this country. So I felt that it's my responsibility as a Ukrainian, but also as a mother.
Okay. For many of us, or for many Europeans, the start of the war was the 24th of October of this year. But it wasn't the case for you. For you, the war started much earlier, in the year of 2014. And back then already, you started to be involved in this war. You were captivated, and the war has been going on for 6 years for you. So could you maybe tell us something about how the war started for you, and how did you become captivated, and what did that mean for your other decisions?
I think everything started with the Maidan revolution, even not with the war, because of course we were participant of this revolution. I was still a student of my film school at that time, but we all went to Maidan, and we went there not only as a documentary makers. We went there because we felt it's a very important event in the life of our country, in our lives. So we spent day and nights on Maidan, filming from time to time, but more even that not we wanted to make a film about all these events, but we just felt that it's so important to document all of this. So when everything started in Crimea and after Donbass, I felt it as a continuation of like part of history of our country, and that's why I went to Donbass. I went first to Donetsk when all separatist movement started there, together with some Russian help. So I spent a few days in Donetsk, and after I went to film a Ukrainian checkpoint, which was actually in the middle and between some separatist military groups and Russian military groups around. So I filmed there, an Ukrainian checkpoint, and one day I had to go back to Donetsk, and on the first checkpoint, a taxi driver with whom I was in the car, he just said to the separatists that I'm with Ukrainian soldiers. So I was arrested and after brought to kind of interrogation room where Russian officer was like interrogating me for many hours.
Vy jste mi říkala, my jsme spolu strávili dnes skoro celé
have spent some time together
Myslela jsem si,
today,
že už budu všechno vědět,
and I
ale
thought
pořád
that
mám
you would tell me everything, but I still have many questions, so don't be
Jste mi
afraid.
říkala, že to jste měla tehdy
You told me
největší strach, vlastně
that
asi větší
that was the
než,
moment when you felt
ty věci, které jsme
most
viděli
afraid,
na těch
more
záběrech.
than maybe in those situations shown in the video. What
Fyzické bolesti,
makes you feel terrified when you are there? Is it the fear that you won't be able to get home, that there is a danger? What is it?
Actually, at the time, you have to understand that it was just the beginning of everything what started in Donbass. So we were all still like really didn't clearly understand what is going on. So I knew already that many people were already captured, like pro-Ukrainian people were already in captivity. So I was afraid of it, but when I was captured, like I had the biggest fear in my life, which I don't know if I ever had after this. But the most frightening thing was that I will give some important information which can harm some people. And this, like, I knew, okay, I can lie whatever I want, but if they start to torture me, to cut my fingers or to do something, then I don't know what I could say. Maybe I could say everything. And then how you can live with this, that you betrayed somebody, and this was really the most terrible thing I ever experienced. This was a fear that I can betray somebody by giving some information, because of the torture. So like when they took me from the car, I had in my mind, okay, this is the end, this is the end, this is the end. Like they will know everything like finished really bad, and I had like kind of animal fear, and I know that I can do nothing. So I just have to follow and what reality will bring to me. So even in the interrogation room, I was sitting like this, and I was just silent. I was trying to make a puzzle work in my brain that I can lie, but they will believe that, like they will think that my lie is true. So, and I was like silent for like many hours, and after they started to really say that they will start to cut my ears or something like this if I will not start to talk. So I started to give this puzzle of lie and the way that I was telling the truth, and they believed me, and it was like very strange to really try to persuade these Russian officers that all my information is true. But finally, they could manage to know some very specific information, and it could be really dangerous for some people. So I was like afraid a lot about some of my friends who were in danger because they read some of like informations from my phone, email, things like this. So, but after this moment, actually, I think I crossed some limit of fear. So I don't know what can be more scary than captivity.
Several years later, after this, you decided to go to the police commissioner to join the army. And if I remember correctly, they told you that you weren't registered and that you couldn't directly join the armed forces, so you chose the volunteer battalion and you became one of the soldiers. And she doesn't even weigh 50 kilos. This is a fragile woman. So when I was asking you about the weight of what you were carrying on your back, I think it was so heavy. It must have been so heavy. So what were the requirements when you were in service? Was it about the difficulty, like the physical difficulty of it, or maybe was it difficult because you were one woman surrounded by men?
No, that I was one woman. It was only one difficulty, that you have to prove that you can do the same. That I needed time to prove this. That's why I never allowed to help me, like to carry anything. So I was carrying all my stuff only by myself. It's, of course, now it's a bit better because, like, I remember from 2014 this bulletproof jacket, which were so heavy. Like now it's a bit lighter, but still, of course, you have in your backpack like grenades, things like water and like etc. And you have like your gun and like, but still, it's like 2014. Even like carrying like a bulletproof jacket for like two days, it was like really something. But I was training a lot, and for me it was very important to be like a soldier like others, and I think I proved it. I did like what I had to do the same level with others. I think with trenches, like I was not that good with this. Really, I was not like, but even it was like funny because there were lots of like my friends like they were laughing. Hey, Lisa, it's like you are not good with like digging, but I was no, I will show you like I can do good trenches. So yeah, I was bad. But the rest things I think I did the same, and but I work hard to prove it. And after you reach the limit when everybody trusts you, and after it's like really the same, like everybody take you like a part of unit. So you're not anymore like woman. But of course, you're still a woman, and they can be more tender with you. And of course, it's even in conversation. Some guys couldn't shout on like because in army people are shouting at each other. But so it was a bit softer, maybe attitude. But actually, I also had lots of conflicts, and we were shouting with some soldiers. We were arguing with many things. So actually, it was balanced at some moment.
No ale jednu slabinu, vlastně já nevím, jestli to je slabina,
Yes.
nebo ne, ale jedno takové...
But there was one thing, one maybe weak point, I'm not sure if that is one, that is also linked to the fact that you were a woman. You mentioned orders.
Je to spíš důsledek toho, že jste umělky?
Maybe that they were reluctant to give you orders. Was it because that you, or maybe you are reluctant to receive orders? Is it because you are an intellectual, a filmmaker, a cultural person, or maybe that you don't want to be given orders from men?
No, it's not. No, I think in general I don't like orders, of course, but also because I'm from another like universe, like I'm like we directors, I don't know, some people from more humanitarian like backgrounds. You want to reflect on things, discuss things, think about, doubt about, this is our like how we think. It's our way of thinking. And in army, it's very different. They could say you, I don't know, drink this full thing of water, and you have to do it without asking why. So for me, I was always asking why we have to do this. And for all like army people, it was like insane because like, what the fuck, she's asking why? Like, it's not, like, it's the army, like, nobody should ask why. Or I said, no, I think it's not rational. We shouldn't do like this, we have to do like this. And it made some men, like, really pissed off, like, completely. And they, like, saying, oh, the woman on our boat, it's apocalypse. Like, I don't know, it's, like, so bad. Like, why she wants to discuss everything? Like, it's just crazy. So, and I had lots of arguments with the deputy of my commander because, like, he was really furious when I was like asking why. Like, it was always ma'am in our unit, but still, we were friends with this deputy of my commander. Even we were always arguing, but it's a more like a dramatic moment when our friend died. And when our base was bombed, and I found the head of my friend in the rubbers, and I came out of our base with his head and with his plate, and I was like, and he saw that I am I will now just emotionally falling like down completely, and he just ran to me and he hugged me and he said, despite all our like arguments, like I think you're the most like strong woman I ever saw. And I started to cry even more because in this like strong moment, he even like forgot about all our disagreements and he said something which was important. So in army it's like this. Sometimes you love and hate somebody, but still you're one family.
I think that the time has come to give the floor to our audience for questions. Unfortunately, I cannot really see you. Yeah, there is a question.
Dobrý den. Já jsem se chtěla zeptat, jestli mezi váma a vaším manželem probíhala nějaká
Whether between
diskuze o
you
tom,
and your
kdo teda
husband
půjde
there
bojovat,
was a debate about who would to join the army, or whether you had this decided at the very beginning that you would go and he would stay at home with your son, or was there a little debate? And then a second question. At the front line, you had to prove that you were up to the job. But was there someone who actually dismissed you just because you were female? That's it from me.
Thank you. First question, actually, have to explain a bit more about my husband. He's French, and he's a French reporter, so he couldn't go to fight. But he was like working a lot, also showing like and talking about Ukraine and everything. So like. It was not a question about like who will go, but he knew that I will go. Even, you know, at the beginning, like when the full-scale war started, I was in Donbass. He was in Donbass as well. So like, and my mother was with our son alone in Kiev. And when this like everything started, I was in the train to Donbass, on the way to Donbass, and my mother called me and said, Alisa, what I have to do? Like, I heard some bombings falling, and I'm like, what I should do? And I was like, what? Like, I was just sleeping in the train, and it was the first call at 5 o'clock, and I said, okay, go to the bathroom just and wait, and we'll see. And after, everybody started to call me, and everybody also started to call other people in this train, so like everybody woke up, and it was the most surrealist, I don't know, picture with all these people at 5 o'clock in the morning talking with their relatives about what to do. Yeah. And the second question was about...
Well, also there was a question about whether you had a debate with your husband. So you said that he was French, that's probably it. And the second question was about whether there was someone who dismissed you because you were female. The relationship towards you as a woman in the army.
I think at the beginning it was a bit like, yeah, she will not be like a good fighter. She's like, and even my friend who actually died in our base, he told me at some moment, Alisa, you know, I have to tell you, I didn't believe in you at all. I was thinking, yes, this girl, like, what she will do with us, like here, you know, she will just run away, escape after like 2 weeks. And he said, you know, it was so big mistake from me. So like you even more stronger than me, actually, because at some moment he left the front, and I stayed. But for me it was so touching moment that he said to me. But the rest think, yeah, at the beginning I think people didn't take you serious. They think, okay, maybe you come for like 1 week, and after you will see that it's so difficult, it's like cold, and it's like rain, and you're just frozen in the trench, and with the Kalashnikov, and like, it's like not for any girl, any woman. So like, yeah, so at the beginning they all like think like, yeah, it's for short period of time, but after when they know that and they see that you're doing the same things, it's like became really normal, and you became like, you don't feel anymore that you are different, in this group.
And didn't they offer you that they will help you to drag your gun, or your rucksack, you know, if there was any hard work, did they offer help to you? Were they gentlemen?
All the time, actually. No, all the time. It was like something, but it was my principle that I didn't want to help me. I wanted to carry only by myself, alone. So like I said no, and at some moment everybody, okay. Like she said no, so it was like at some moment, yeah, they knew that I want to do it alone, and it was important for me to do it by myself, because when you will be in some very complicated, shitty situation on the front line, you have to do it by yourself. Maybe you will not have, you have nobody to help you, so you have to know how to do everything by yourself. So that's why.
All right, let's give another possibility to our audience. I can't see very well, but I can see a hand risen over there. So let's wait for the mic.
First, I want to say condolences for the loss of your friend. My question is a little bit what happens after this, what the procedure is like to leave the front line, if you're offered to leave, if you have to ask permission, and also if there's a difference between the voluntary battalions and the real army.
Yeah, actually, no, it's a good question, because like, yeah, in volunteer army, you can leave. Because you don't sign really official contract. Now, if you want to go to regular army, you have to sign a contract which actually until the end of the war. And nobody knows how long it will be. So with volunteer army, I didn't leave it for 4 months. Like I was always there. So I left it just because after our base was bombed, my commander decided to left Ukrainian volunteer army, because it didn't work anymore. Okay, there could be some crazy people like me or some few other people who can fight without money, without status, and if you will be killed, nobody will pay compensation to your family. If you will lose your leg, you will just have a basic help in a military hospital, and after you will be sent to just normal hospital. So of course many people left Ukrainian volunteer army and signed a contract with the normal army. When you are in a regular army, you cannot leave when you want. You need to have расположение, боевое расположение. It's like a special permission, so you can go for certain period of time somewhere, or it can be some rotations. It depends, but it can be, but it's with the special permissions. With volunteer army, you also needed permission, but it's softer. It was much softer. So if you need to go, you can ask your commander, and if it's not very important moment on the front line, you can go for 1 week or something like this. That's why for me, when I back to Kiev to normal life, and I decided to take a break after, because my commander signed a contract with regular army, so I had to be like also part of his unit and sign a contract, but at the same time I understood that I have to finish my film, which I just left for a long time, and I had my responsibility, and this film was also important because it's about teenagers from Donbass who actually, like, 3 of my characters were in occupation at that time, and still 2 of them still under Russian occupation, and I understood that, okay, it's also important, and I have to finish my film, and after go back and sign a contract and find out maybe to sign more flexible contract somehow.
You are speaking about the movie Expedition 49, if I'm not mistaken. The movie is already finished. And maybe could you speak a bit more about this movie? Why did you start filming it? With what intention? And what changed after the war started? Did the message of the movie remain the same, or did it change?
Actually, yeah, it's film Expedition 49. Now we want to change the title of this film. For sure, we will change it because it's not anymore about expedition, really. It even was not anymore about expedition even before this full-scale war, because like I filmed it for 3 years. I filmed the life of 5 teenagers in Donbass, dreamers who dreamed about for the first time to see the world outside, and they participated to special project Journey to the Himalayas. So I filmed their lives in Donbass, and after I follow them in the Himalayas. It's a multi-characters film which portraits life of teenagers in Donbass. But this film is much more about how to dream when you are still teenager, when you are living in a very gray world, and how to still believe in your dreams and how to make your dreams come true. We just finished first rough cut before this full-scale war. And after I went actually to see my characters, because they're all from front line, from the villages next to the front line. And yeah, the war started, and like I was with them, and I was, yeah, just decided that I will make a pause on this project. And when I back to the editing and I watched this rough cut, which we made before, I saw completely different film. There are things which they were not important anymore, because this war gave such a different background now for this like life of my characters, for everything. So we had to re-edit everything completely. And also it was supposed to be a film about dreams which can come true, but actually it became a film about broken dreams of my characters. Yeah. So.
Už máte název, jak se to bude jmenovat?
Do you already have the new name?
No, like I'm not supposed to tell it. It's still a secret. But it's something about dreams.
Dobře.
Okay. Is there anybody else having a question they would like to ask? Or shall I ask something? I can't see you very well, as I said, but here we can see somebody in the front row.
Hello, very nice to see you here at Ji.hlava. I actually have a question about this new project that you just showed to us. What is the plan? Are you planning to shoot still? For how long? What is your intention, or is it changing every day? I can imagine you kind of have to be flexible when it comes to material like that.
Thank you for this question, but it's so fresh project. So yeah, as I said, I was not intent to make a film. To be honest, like when I came from the front line, one of my friends, she wanted to make a project about filmmakers who participated to war, who started to fight. And there are many of my colleagues who decided to go to fight with different, like some drone operators, like different kind of things. And she asked me for some footages from front. And we started to watch with her, like just what I filmed, because I was thinking I filmed something like not important, that I filmed something like the most boring things of the front line, you know, like you can ever see, that it's what I filmed. Because I filmed usually when it was a pause, or like it was not so much tensions, and it was like silence. It was like she said it's like I filmed Iranian movie about like routine on the front line, you know, kind of boring front line. But actually there was something in it which gave so much atmosphere and tension even through the silence. And Marina, like my friend, she told me, Alisa, but you really should think that to make all this like film out of it. And that's how I started to think. And I just wrote some synopsis, applied for some funds, because now we don't have our even film state agency which can support our film. So we are completely alone, and we can only apply for some European funds. So it's actually how I start this way. I don't know. Actually, I know emotionally which kind of film I want to make, like is that it will be very slow, very reflective film with some more poetic voiceover, not the narration. But I still don't know for sure the structure and how it will look like. And I want to go back to the front line. It doesn't matter for me or I will film there or no. But for me, it's just important. And I promise to myself that I will go back. Yeah. I hope I answer.
I would like to use this occasion to speak about your husband. You said that he's a foreign reporter, that he's French, and that he's also one of the people who are basically giving the rest of Europe information about the war in Ukraine. And I want to ask you about this because I'm a journalist as well. I'm trying to do the very same thing, sometimes successfully, sometimes less unsuccessfully. So I'm trying to give the Czech people the perspective of what you Ukrainians live through. Do you think that we are successful in this? Does Europe understand the war in Ukraine? And are we contributing to this solidarity? And will this solidarity remain, or will the winter destroy it completely?
It's difficult to answer this question, but at some point Stefan told me, you know, Alisa, sometimes I feel so desperated because I think all my job, what I did for 6 years, it was for nothing. And so it's like we all have our up and down. It's really complicated to make a universal picture about it, because I have my circle of friends who understand us and who have very deep feeling, deep reflection. But on the other side, I know some people, I will give you example, I was after on the 10th of October, you know, it was lots of bombings on Kiev and it was terrible. And I was few days later, I had to go to some festival and I was in the airport shopping in Warsaw, and there were couple, stomatologist, dentist, Polish, I don't know, 50, 60 years old. And we started to talk about situation in Ukraine and everything. And they said, how is it? I said, yeah, it was really bad. It was lots of bombings in Kiev and etc. And they said, yeah, it will be a problem with electricity. Yeah, and it will be very cold in Poland. It will be very complicated for us. And I was fuck, I was talking about bombings, and they started to really talk that it will be really cold for them. Just this, and I understood that, okay, we have completely different perception of this reality. That I'm talking about bombing and about that I had not just electricity. I had no electricity, water, internet, mobile connection, didn't work at all. And with Stefan, we had to listen news with the car, because we in the car to listen radio, because we had nothing, we were isolated. So it's not only talking about that it will be cold, it was talking about that we will be completely isolated, we will have nothing, it will be impossible to work. It means that our economic will collapse, and it means that there are many also refugees. Many people from Ukraine will go out, because it will be impossible to work, to live, and to do nothing. But they were just saying that yeah, it will be cold in Warsaw. So you know, I understand that for some people it's important to have comfortable life, but sometimes this level of perception of this, it's so different. So I don't know. I don't want to blame anybody, but it's painful sometimes to understand this big gap in between.
Tak já dám zase příležitost vám.
Okay, I would like to again give the floor to our audience.
Určitě. Máte další otázku, jen se ptejte.
Go ahead.
Vy jste mluvila o snech a o
You mentioned dreams and also broken dreams relating to your film. So I wonder what maybe was the biggest motivation for you to remain at the front line and keep fighting?
First, because like it actually has roots from 2014 and 15. Because when I was like, I started, you know, to film the war at that time, and when I was even Maidan, like everything, because you are filming something what is happening in your country, and you feel at the same time that you are filming as a just a documentary maker who are not acting, who just register something. And for me, it was really painful to just film and not act, and I was always like, I was always suffering because of this, because I felt that I have to do more, and to act and to help. And actually, for me, it was the first reason that I finally say to myself, okay, now it's not time for films, it's a time to act, and it's time to do something. It's time to sacrifice maybe yourself, to sacrifice your life, but without this, you will never have anything. You know, like it's impossible to have your comfort life, to do what you want to do, and to stay in your comfort zone. You have to really sometimes go out and to act and to do something which is dangerous, but which is important. And second thing, just I wanted to fight for country where I want my son to live. And I want that it will be like a beautiful country, and without bombings, and without kindergarten and bomb shelter, and because it's like what happened with our children, like last time, like it was in October still, like they were having some activities in bomb shelters, and now it's like normal for us, but I don't want it to be normal. I will give you like to make small joke. And when you go to a kindergarten, it's in Kiev, you see like a big poster, which it's advertising of school, like, and it's written like school for kids from 8 to 12, I don't remember, and small letters, we have English teachers. Second, we have like super like new program, and short, I don't know, something, and big letters, we have bomb shelter. Like, you know, it's like all English, it's not so, but we have bomb shelter. It's like half of these posters, we have bomb shelter, like good bomb shelter. And it's like part of our reality. It can be a bit crazy, but now we started to use it also as well. But yeah, it's from one side, it's good that we ready to sacrifice some our comfort, but to stay in our country.
The war has been going on for several months now, and I think that even here in Czechia, the perspective on Ukrainians has changed. In the past, Ukrainians worked on construction sites, or Ukrainian women worked as cleaning ladies, but recently I have seen the admiration towards Ukrainians and the fact that they managed to stand up and face the aggression. We here cross our fingers and try to support you and hope that you will remain fighting, because as you mentioned, there are now more challenges with the winter coming, with the critical infrastructure being threatened. Do you think that you will last? Or maybe will the fatigue mean that the war will end? People will be so tired that they won't be able to continue and resist. Maybe they will make their leadership surrender?
From Russia?
Russia.
No,
Ukrainian fatigue.
Ukrainian? No, no, I don't think so. If you saw the picture when Reuters in Kiev, when people really switched off the lights, like, and it's because they decided to do this, not because it was like no electricity. So we have some unique, it's in our DNA, or I don't know, we can do like very brave things together. We have this talent, I don't know, somehow. So when we have this like one enemy, we can sacrifice a lot, like our comfort and everything. So I don't think it will be like fatigue. We will be so tired. Even, you know, now I think, for example, I like warm also. I like to be in a warm. I really afraid of coldness, and on the front line for me it was the worst. It was much worse than bombings, really. Even bombings, it was okay because at least adrenaline made you warm somehow. So, but like really stay like this with Kalashnikov, and you are staying. It's you on the first line, so you cannot move, you cannot walk, like run or something. You just stay like this with and you can do like only like this something. So, but I, you know, like I had in my mind, okay, I came here not because somebody forced me to come here. It's not mobilization, that because it's my decision. So I have to do this, and I have to stay this fucking 24 hours, like in minus, I don't know, 10 or anything, and I have to survive. So we have, if you have your like very strong motivation and you understand for what you're doing this, you can survive anything. Really. If you don't have motivation and you don't understand, then you cannot survive in an even -1 in 1 hour, you know. So, and after, you know, I went through all of this coldness and rains, after I really, I hated it all my life. So it means that really we all can do this. Yeah.
Okay, so it's about the motivation. And is the motivation more important for Ukrainians than, for example, the weapon supplies from the West? Because you have also friends in Russia, so you know the Russian mentality and maybe their motivation in this war. And often we see comparisons between the Russians and the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians know why they are fighting, what they are fighting for. And there was also a big migration crisis. So is it about motivation on the Ukrainian side?
Motivation and European American weapons that work very good, like together. So I think it's like really good balance. And Russians, they have more meat, they have more people, so they really don't care about their people. They just put them as meat, like so. And they will now have more people about whom they don't care again. But yeah, so. We have less people, but still, if we start to count, and we count with, for example, this new mobilization, how much like Russians will fight, it will be like 10 times more. But so even with very good weapons, it's impossible to win. So like it's really not right balance, even like motivation, not motivation. So I don't know, we have to stop somehow. We have to find also other ways to stop Russia, and they're also completely unpredictable also, even on the front line. Sometimes you don't understand the logic, why they're doing this. Like, one time we were sitting like in the trench, and we saw like so much bombs falling in the middle of the field. And we were, what the fuck they're doing? Like, it's the middle of the field, there are no trenches there, like what they think we are crazy, we are sitting in the, but they were like just bombing like middle of the field. I don't know. So. And after it stopped. And after nothing. So like sometimes, but it's like just small example, but it's really difficult to predict what Russians can do because I cannot find logic in some of their actions anymore. But of course, motivation is a very important thing anyway. Because yeah, otherwise you couldn't stay in such complicated circumstances, like and still fight.
I think that trying to understand Russian logic could take a lot of time, but we won't try to do this. I see another question from the crowd.
Dobrý večer. Chtěl jsem se zeptat, jaké třeba sepětí Ukrajinců s tím vlastním státem, který...
What is the amount of identification of the Ukrainians with the country, with the state, because the state is quite recent. So also I want to ask if this has changed over the last months.
Sorry, I didn't understand completely.
Aha. На русском вам сказать. Он спрашивает о том, что украинское государство не существовало до 91 года. Если есть сейчас какая-то побольше такая близкая связь людей со своим государством, и если это меняется в последнее время, наверное,
But I don't agree that it didn't exist, actually. Like, like I don't want to go inside, like so deep in the history, but even inside Soviet Union, it was Украинская Народная Республика. So we had our language, even at the beginning of this Soviet time, we had like a fake pro-Ukrainian movement even of Soviet regime. And after, of course, we had all these big repressions and all our writers were like just killed. But it was always Ukraine, just it was under totalitarian regime. It was like not the time when it didn't exist completely. It existed in different forms. And before this like Soviet regime, we also had attempt to build our democratic Ukrainian republic. So, like, it's not that we are completely newborn country, but of course, we, with like in this modern time, of course, we are kind of young country, but as a state, not as a historical phenomenon, but more that we had to build our own like rights, like system, laws, and constitution, and like everything. But of course, I cannot compare. I've never lived like in a deep Soviet Union regime. I was born in 1987. It was collapse actually of this regime. But of course, if to compare with 90s, I was like in my small like district. It was only one Ukrainian school, one. Now in my city where I grew up, it's Zaporizhia. It's almost like all Ukrainian schools, only Ukrainian schools, and I speak to my son in Ukrainian. And my mother, who was all her life Russian speaking, now speaking Ukrainian with my son. And my father, who was speaking all his life in Russian, now he's speaking Ukrainian with my son. So, and we had, of course, lots of things change. And especially with this war, we are much more aware that we have to be really independent state, and we need our own way to go and to develop ourselves. Yeah.
Já bych na to trošku přece jenom navázala.
I would like to follow up on this because Ukraine, at least after 2014, when I was visiting the eastern territories like Luhansk and others, I would say that Ukraine was very strictly divided into the east and the West, which was approaching Europe more and more, which was progressing. But you also liberated areas which are situated further to the east. and where there are people who didn't really welcome Russian soldiers, but they might not have been that happy about seeing you. Maybe people who are remembering fondly the Soviet Union. And now, when these areas are becoming liberated, the areas which were formerly under Russian occupation, what is the approach of Ukraine soldiers to people there and the other way around?
It's very complex. It's super complex question. Yeah, I'm from Eastern Ukraine, and I can say that, yeah, my city is completely different if to compare with like 20 years ago. And I have to say the same about Donbas, because, you know, I filmed life of teenagers for 3 years. And I know Donbas from 2014, and it's different Donbas even after like 8 years. I have to say that there are some places where people had more connection with Russia, or like they were more like influenced by propaganda. And there are many people in Donbas under 50, under 60, where you cannot fix this brain anymore. Like it's just lost like forever. It's people who really watch Russia 1 and they really believe to Russia 1, and even if on in their garden happening something completely different, they won't believe their eyes, but they believe Russia 1. But it's really, it worked. I don't know, it's like a magic. I don't know how it can work, but I saw it like with this old generation people. They still believe that life was so beautiful during Soviet Union, ice cream was the best, and like all this bullshit. But so with some people you can do nothing. But what's important is the young generation, and the young generation is much more progressive. And if they are not influenced by their stupid parents or their stupid grandparents, they can be free and they can have another way of thinking. And for example, I was in the front line in Kharkiv region. So we met different people. We never met somebody who said, you Ukraine, no, we want to be with Russia. I don't know, like we never heard it, but there are, in some strange villages, there were some people who were looking at you like this. But generally, people were happy to see us. And in the last village where we were just next to the Russian border, we became good friends with all people around. So we were bringing them some food. They were bringing us milk from the coast, and they came to us to call because we had internet. Because they didn't have internet, they slept with us in a bomb shelter. And so we had really good relationships, and they were very nice people. I was actually even surprised because this was village just close to the Russian border, and I was thinking that there will be lots of pro-Russian people. But world changed also, and we were also discussing a lot with my friends from my unit, because sometimes they were saying, in this village, the only pro-Russian separatist village. Like, I said, no, but how you can say it? Like, really, there are like, it's not Donbas 2014, guys. It's not the same world anymore. And I want to believe, and what I saw, it's only confirmed that people are different, and from this time many things have changed. And I can also tell about, for example, friends of my mother. There were some friends of my mother from Zaporizhia. They were not pro-Russian, but they were like, okay, they were against European Union somehow, because for them it was Hey Europa, like I don't know why. But after, they now completely like super pro-Ukrainian, they super pro-European, they super anti-Russia. So, and I remember these people 5 years ago saying completely different things. So, people changed, so we don't have to really focus on how it was 8 years ago, but to think how it will be in the future. It will be better, I hope.
My taky doufáme.
We hope so too. Okay, let's take a look if we have any other curious questions. Thank you very much. I would like to ask about this. You sacrificed a lot. I would like to know what a happy ending to this war would be, according to you.
I cannot say about happy ending. I don't know. I'm not optimist. Like, it's not that I'm not an optimist. Of course, I want to believe that we will win this war, but it's a more like we already lost so much people. So we already, even if we will win this war soon, we already lost so much things. We lost so much people, and we will need years to rebuild, and we will never take back these people who died, beautiful people. I don't see happy end, even if our victory will be tomorrow. It's not happy end for me, because every night I have my friends, my dead friends coming to me, and I couldn't fall asleep for a long time. The best thing it to be that we will, after our victory, we will really build a beautiful country, and we will not start to argue in between each other, but we will, as we fight against one enemy, we will work again together to rebuild everything. Yeah, I think it will be long. This war will be long, very long, and we have to prepare for it. It's very sad, but I don't think victory will be fast, and I think we will lose even more people. When I was on the front line, my father was calling me every day, and he was saying, "Tomorrow we will win." Alisa, I was saying, "Pop, I'm on the front line, my friends are dying every day. We are not going to win tomorrow." But he was really believing that we will win this war, and I would like to believe, but after what I saw, I think, yeah, with Russia even, first 2 months, everybody were saying, Russia will collapse soon. Economically, it's already finished. It's just 1 more month and that's it. And now how much months we have? And Russia still didn't collapse completely economically. So they will have their dirty schemes to continue this war, and they need this war, and they want to destroy us. And for them, it's not about territories, Russia, they know this way of violence, and even that in Russia it's the highest level of family violence in Europe, that father beat wife, and father beat children, and after these children beat their children. And it's what Russia doing with Ukraine, because for them, we are like their child who don't want to follow the rules, and they want to beat. And after it's a moment, we will say, "Oh yeah, Papa, you was right." But they think like this. They have this philosophy, like a big father who will beat the son until the son will say, "Yeah, I agree with you." And they still have this in their brain somehow. I don't know, it's a bit sick psychology, but they want to do this. It's not that they want to take Donbass. It's not that they want to have Novorossiya or other Wonderland. No, they really want to destroy and to say, okay, you will be with us or you will not exist. That's it.
Alisa, I wanted to ask you about one more thing. You're a filmmaker. Do you have maybe some Russian colleagues, Russian friends, with whom you are able to communicate, to discuss things? Because in my experience, we wanted to gather Russian opposition journalists who could communicate with Ukrainian journalists in Prague, and it is not really possible. Even though they fight for the very same thing, it's very hard to find common speech between them. Is it the same in filmmaking industry? Are there any barriers to your communications with Russian filmmakers, or is it different?
It's a tricky question. really. You know, like we have this expression, Russian liberal finished on Ukrainian question, you know. No, I still have some Russian friends even from film industry who still adequate. It's like little bit, really little bit. But there are many people, even I was thinking they were normal, but they like really have a kind of salad in their brain. And so it's very complicated to talk with many of them. So I cannot answer really very concrete on this question. But I think in film industry, yeah, we have also lots of discussion still about this. And in literature, I think as well. Yeah.
Our time is coming up, so this is one of the last opportunities to ask Alisa a question, if you have any. So please don't take it for granted, because I give you the floor to ask questions. I'm not asking myself. Here we have a question. Okay. Wait for the mic. Hello. I would like to ask, what is it like to be in the front line with your camera? And how can you concentrate on filming and switching between filmmaking and between surviving and going into the action?
Thank you for this question. Actually, I was filming only when it was nothing to do. Really. But the biggest problem was that I had a heavy camera and it took more kilos, but I couldn't took out my grenades, for example. So I had to have grenades and camera, and sometimes I decided, okay, I will not take water, but I will put camera. And my commander was always angry. He was saying, but it's fucking heavy, like if we have to go like 5 kilometers. I said, like I say, I will go, you know, like it's my responsibility. I took this plus like 3 kilo. So I will do, but it was really complicated. At some moment, because when we went to one counter-attack operation and after we had to go back, and it was like 5 kilometers, which we had to walk like with all ammunitions. And I had this camera and I was like really, I hated this camera. I was like even talking like, what the fuck, I took this camera. I even filmed nothing, like almost nothing. It's like, and now I have to carry a Kalashnikov, a camera, and like this, all of this. But but I filmed only maybe 10% of time I stayed there. So the most interesting things, they stayed out. I filmed only like really what I said, these boring things, because I wanted to, you know, to save something from this reality. And I filmed sometimes because I thought, okay, if I will not film it, will just die. Our memory really, it's like you think, okay, I will remember it all my life, but after you forgot it. And I wanted, okay, I will just film it just for my memory. So that's like how I decided to film. And yeah.
Alisa, I wish you that you very soon reach the point where you do not have to decide between grenades and your camera, or between being in the front line or with your son. I believe, even though you say this war will take a long time, there will be soon the point where this will come to an end. Thank you for your questions, thank you for your attention, and thank you, Alisa, for coming to the Czech Republic, to Ji.hlava, and for speaking so openly, not only here in the room, but also with me during the afternoon. It was extremely surprising and interesting for me. Thank you.